32 Meridian and
Copy Meridian. If there's still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way.
39. Upper Sioux, it's going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot flyer, just, on their own.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds. All right, we're back here again. It's been a little while. I got a friend of mine, Josh Krohn. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How you doing, Raul?
Good. We're going to talk about a shooting you were involved in. When did that happen?
Back in February of 2008.
2008. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, what have you been up to? Sounds like today you were out doing a little hunting.
Yeah, I did a little hunting today. Not a whole lot of killing, but did some hunting. Had a nice float on the river.
You were trying to shoot ducks?
Yep, after some ducks.
Yeah.
Weather's too nice right now.
Yeah.
When it gets colder, it'll be better.
What other kind of hunting you been doing this year?
Done some elk hunting, some deer hunting, bear hunting, kind of anything and everything I can most of the time.
Man, you're a big hunter, huh?
I do enjoy some hunting.
And so what have you shot so far this year?
This year I shot a young mule deer, and then I shot a small bear too.
Nice.
So my son was able to get an elk, and then I got another kiddo that was able to bring down a deer too. So we got some meat in the freezer.
Earlier we were talking about bear hunting, because I was talking about my son-in-law having, shooting a bear, and my daughter shooting a bear. You were talking about one that you had to track. Is that the one, or was that?
Yeah, that was from the one from this year.
Tell that story again. That's a pretty interesting story about tracking.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be pretty fun. We had a couple extra days. I took my son up trying to get a deer for him, and he ended up turning up a bear, and I still had a bear tag for the year, and so I was able to put a good shot on it. Thought I knocked it down, but I think she turned a little bit, quartering to me when I was taking the shot, and thought I did a good shot. But when we got over there, we found that she had actually run off quite a ways, and so we got to start a tracking job on her, and it ended up being pretty good because my son has never been involved in a track before. Every time he's killed a deer, he just put the wall up on them, and they dropped right where he hit them. So it was a good experience for him.
And you tracked him for how long?
Probably about 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours of tracking.
She didn't go very far, but just we took it slow. I bet she traveled maybe 200 yards or so. But it was just taking that real slow and being real meticulous and following the blood trail.
Yeah, because we were talking about how sometimes you can have a puddle of blood, but then all of a sudden it kind of starts to disappear, right?
Yeah. We had several places where we'd find it on the leaves with the brush that she'd gone through, or a little tiny bit out here on the ground, little drops here, and then a little puddle here, right?
Yeah.
And then a couple times my kid, he wanted to jump ahead of things because he just thought things were going real smooth, and I had to slow him down because it was a good learning opportunity for him. I got to show him, hey, it's not just about the blood trail. It's also about the upturned ground. It's also about dirt getting thrown here or there, or when you lose that trail, you want to make sure and look at all the different things that are around and available.
Yeah, you don't want to destroy the trail as you're going, and then you start looking around and you can't find it again.
Exactly.
Because you do. You start to, you're on the track and you're going, oh, this is going really good. I can see everything, and then all of a sudden it stops, it disappears, and you have to really start looking for little clues, like you said. Yeah. Drop of blood on a piece of leaf or a stick, or it might be an overturned rock, or a little footprint, and you're trying to decide, is this a bear print or is this a cow print, whatever. Because sometimes you just, the way the dirt gets turned over, sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes it's really obvious, but sometimes it's not.
Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes it's nice with the bears because they make an impression much different than a ungulate, than a deer or an elk or something like that. And so it can be a little bit different, but they also makes it more difficult because they have such soft feet that when they put their feet down, a lot of times it doesn't make an impression. And so
and sometimes you're like, is that a footprint or not a footprint?
Yeah, exactly.
Paw print.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then he was able to get a deer the next day, so it made it all right that I took some of his deer hunting time away to chase a bear.
That's cool. Well, I haven't had good luck at all this year. I used to always kind of brag, like, I get an elk every year. And I guess I bragged one too many times, because this year I didn't even hardly see any elk.
Yeah.
The elk that I did see were on private property about 3,000 yards away.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them through my spotting scope, and they're just like, there's a nice herd of them, but not on the area that I needed to.
Not where they needed to be. So
then it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go up and go to our property and see if I can find me a whitetail to shoot, because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Of course, except for when I'm hunting.
Yeah.
And I struck out again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
didn't have any good luck hunting this year, but
Yeah.
that's the way it goes, I guess.
You know, you might have a little bit of time left, don't you? Chasing whitetail,
Oh, we got till the 20th, right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I got to go back to work on Monday. Even
It's
though
that
I'm
time.
retired, but I got my,
Right.
all my little odds and end jobs that I do
Yeah.
here and there. So
Yeah.
doing a security job on Monday, and then doing some teaching at Post the rest of the week, and
Okay.
teaching some alert classes. So
Yeah.
and we were talking earlier. I guess the last time that we really had seen each other was just like at some SWAT competitions, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the agency you worked with
schools
Nampa used to
and-
put together a sniper or a SWAT competition out in the
Yeah.
desert, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the last one we did. I think it was the very last one was out like was that? Trying to think of what's the name of that creek?
I think-
is it Sinker Creek or something? It was way out in the middle.
I think we did the one out. The last one I think we did was out Orchard Training Area.
Okay, I don't think I went to that one.
Okay,
we
okay.
went to the one I think prior to that one. It was like,
Okay.
oh, it's just going to be this like 3 or 4 mile thing,
Yeah,
and
it
it
won't
ended
be a
up being
big
like
deal.
16 miles.
Yeah.
Where you go with your team and
Yeah.
you run from point A to point B, and you had like,
Yeah, a couple
okay, you
of
got
those were brutal.
to carry this big power pole, okay,
Yeah.
then you got to shoot here at this next one, and all these different little events, and then
Yeah.
we're like, man, when's this thing gonna end? I thought it was just a few miles, and we're like, find out it's like 16 miles
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Going through the desert.
Yeah. A few of those were brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
those were good times. So
yeah.
Are you still working SWAT?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, you've been doing SWAT for a long time now.
Yeah, 15 years now. I've been on the
Because
SWAT
I
team,
retired
so,
almost 4.5 years ago now.
yeah.
And
Okay.
so it's been, that competition's been a while. So.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I think the last time we did it was probably 2013, maybe 2014, but yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So,
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got into law enforcement.
oh, I got into law enforcement. I mean, I'll tell you what, I wanted to be a cop since I was young. When I was a kid, playing cops and robbers with all the neighborhood kids.
That's
That
a
was
common
kinda-
story in this
I know,
profession,
right?
isn't it?
It's just something. There's something about it, We all love that kind of stuff. I know a few buddies that I used to hang around with back in the day. They're in law enforcement or in the military as well. I know one guy who we don't know a whole lot about what he does in the military. He went off to the military and didn't come home, and he was doing some super secret stuff in the military. So. But yeah, I grew up wanting to do it. There's a few people I knew that were adults that were cops at the time, and kind of made a good impression on me, and just thought, man, that's cool. That's something I want to do when I get
Yeah,
older.
you didn't run
So-
from the cops when you were younger?
I didn't run from the cops when I was younger. No, I don't have any cool stories about running from the cops when I was younger.
Now, are you from Idaho, or where are you from?
I grew up in Idaho. Yeah, I actually grew up in the Twin Falls area, though.
Okay.
So I grew up there and graduated. I actually got my high school or my GED down there.
Yeah.
I went a couple of years homeschool, a couple of years at a private school, and ended up getting my GED, and then went
Yeah.
to CSI for a couple of years.
Okay. Back when
So-
private schools were not or homeschooling wasn't as popular as it is now.
No. Yeah, it wasn't very popular back then. It wasn't as common of a thing back then. And my mom worked for the school system, but didn't really want our kids at the school system.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff.
I
going
grew
on
up
at the
in
time.
Magic Valley too.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
down in Burley.
Burley. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in Burley, but like my dad grew up in Eden and then Hazleton area.
Yeah.
and so
That's all right there.
yeah, all pretty close.
Yeah.
So
And so you knew a few people that were in law enforcement, and that kind of piqued your
kind of
interest,
piqued
huh?
my interest in it. Yeah, and then when I moved up here, just did some odd end jobs and worked for NNU for a couple of years, and then met my wife while I was working on staff at NNU, and she was a student at NNU. And
You were staff, like you were teaching, or what?
no, I wasn't teaching, but I was doing a security gig for a
okay.
little while, and
I was like, man, you went from GED to
straight to professor. Nope, I'm not quite smart enough for that.
well, if you went to school in Idaho, you got to be pretty
That's
smart.
true, yeah. Yeah, right? Top of the nation. Yeah, so I met my wife when she was going to school, and then a couple years later, I think it was right after we got married, I decided to apply at the Canyon County Sheriff's Office and got on with them and worked for a couple years in the jail over there and the courts and transports for a while. And shortly after that, I decided to get on with or test for Nampa PD. My wife actually was working with the current chief's wife. So those two kind of hashed it out that, hey, we need to get Josh trying out for Nampa PD. And so then my wife talked to me, she talked to her husband, and they arranged a meet and greet for us at some get together. And rest is history. He got me on the road to getting hired with them, and
That's
6
been
months
good,
later
huh?
or so, he hired me. So yeah, late 2004 is when I got hired on there.
Okay. I think I worked on that Metro gang unit back in like 2005, I think.
Yeah.
Or
That's
almost a
when
couple
things
years.
were
I
hopping.
think. Dude, it was crazy back then.
Yeah.
I remember people would ask me, "Oh, what's it like?" Because we would almost all our work, even though I worked in Ada County, right? Our office was over. It was over there, kind of by the golf course off of 11th.
Oh, okay,
Street,
yeah.
over there. They had an old abandoned building. That they put us in where the narcs were and all that
Right.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
We were like on the second or third floor. But people would go, "Oh, what's it like working over there?" I'm like, "Dude," I go, "these guys like work twice as hard as we do, and they get paid half as much as we do."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, there were so many drive-by shootings. I was just like, this is crazy.
It was all the time. It was almost weekly.
Well,
We
it
had
was like,
something, yeah.
I remember going to 3 in a day.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, it is so crazy how you just go across the county line, and it was so different.
Yeah,
Because
it's a complete change of pace.
We didn't. It was rare to get those types of calls, and it was kind of like a daily thing for you guys over there.
Yeah, it was constant over there, especially in those early years.
I went to this. We had a Metro reunion a couple months ago for like anybody who'd ever been on Metro, and I think they were talking about stats back in like 2005, and I can't remember, but I thought they said they had something like 600 drive-by shootings or something that year in Nampa.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Doesn't surprise me, though.
yeah. I remember seeing a drive-by shooting that was like Channel 7 News had covered it, saying, "Hey, there was a drive-by shooting, but it was like, just a small little story. It wasn't much information."
Yeah.
And they said, I think it was only property damage. And so we go to our briefing that day. We're like, "Hey, there was a drive-by in Nampa. Let's call them and see if they need any help doing follow-up or whatever,
Yeah.
because we'd always just offer basically a bunch of bodies to help do follow-up, whatever." And they're like, "Oh, there's nothing in the logs." It's like, I'm like, wow, they don't even do reports on these things over here. They got so many.
It's just too many.
They're like, nobody got hurt, so
Yeah.
10-8.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I was really amazed at how many. It was fun. It was a good time though.
Yeah. Yeah. Nampa and Caldwell just seemed to have a lot of problems over there. I mean, it was every time we turned around, there was some gang fight, some gang retaliation going on. It was just constant over there.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
And back in the day, we mentioned this before we started recording, that wasn't it? It was Caldwell that years ago had a chief that used to always say, "Oh, we don't have a gang problem," and he didn't want to say there was gangs, and he just flat out would deny it.
Yeah. 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 We didn't have a gang problem. We don't have a gang problem. But
Yeah.
It was a really big problem.
Yeah, we were just. It seemed like we were supposed to be working the whole Treasure Valley, and man, we just spent like 90% of our time over in Nampa Caldwell.
Yeah.
Just because it was so busy, we couldn't leave to other parts of the valley. We couldn't get over to Boise very often because we're so busy helping
Too
you guys.
busy doing stuff over there. Yeah.
Helping you guys in Caldwell.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever work on a gang unit or any
No, I
specialty
didn't.
teams?
No, I didn't work on a gang unit at all. Early in my career, I was only 2 years into my career, and a position came open on the DUI team, and so I got on the DUI enforcement team I was there for about 6 years.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that a lot. It freed me up from just handling a bunch of radio calls, and I got to, anytime something fun popped off, I got to stop whatever I was doing and go help out, and it made it a little easier. I got to help out, do what I needed to do, but I didn't get to take primary on it, so I'd do a quick supplement and then back to going and having some fun.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
yeah, gave me a little more freedom than regular patrol would have. So
Yeah, that's nice. Especially, I just remember getting tired of the stupid domestics and the calls that are, you just pull your hair out and just like, man, I hate those calls, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to sift. You want to do this job because of the fun or the excitement part of it, but you have to sift through all these other calls that are not so fun to get to the fun one.
To get to the
right?
fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's like, I don't know over there, but you guys are probably like, you know, every 10 calls you get some fun, exciting call. In Ada County, it was like every 50 calls.
You have to sift through a lot of more of the mundane stuff over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we probably did a lot more PR work than you guys did. You guys didn't have time for that.
Yeah, we have time for that. It depends on the shift you're working. It depends on the time. It depends on the generation too, because things are different now than they were back then. That's for sure.
They don't have the gang violence like they had back in the day, did they?
It's still there, but it's not
Yeah.
quite as frequent.
I still see it hit the news every now and then,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it's as, it's not like a drive-by shooting every other night or nightly.
No, I think those early years, like early 2000s, up until like probably 2010, it was hopping, and now it's just not quite that bad, which is a good thing, obviously. But at the same time, too, it goes in phases. I know with the Metro and with RSAU guys, they did so much hard work trying to get the big players shut down with the gang stuff back then.
Yeah.
A lot of guys got put away in federal prison for a lot
Yeah, I
of
think
years.
after I left,
So-
I think they changed the way they were doing things. Like when I was there, we were more kind of like almost like the street crimes unit and a street crime / warrant service unit, because we just served a lot of warrants.
Right.
And we just kind of were on patrol basically. And after I left the unit, I think I was only there about 2 years, and then they started doing the long-term like RICO investigations, and that's when I think they ended up arresting a lot of guys and sending them to prison.
Yeah, that was great to have them start implementing that, because they really did a lot of significant work to get specific gang members and players in those games put away for 6
So when I was there, we did a lot of serving warrants, or we're just making traffic stops on gang members, seeing gang members walking down the street, making contacts with them. We made a lot of arrests, but it was just street level arrests, not like they did with that RICO investigation where they arrested a lot of the the big players.
Yeah.
So
that had a huge factor in it. I mean, we got to the point where our gang contacts and our gang crimes were so low that our chief, even at the time, said we aren't even having many issues. And so staffing issues, 2008 happened, right? With the market crash and finances and money had to be moved here and there. And one of the things they did was they pulled a lot of folks from our gang unit, from our SIU. And so they didn't have quite the manpower to do like they had been doing. And, but we didn't have as much need for them at that moment. Now, of course, fast forward another 5 years from there, then all those guys are getting out of prison. Yeah. What are they doing? They're recruiting again. And so that's when we started to see an uptick in those problems back in like 2012, 2013. They started upticking again because a lot of those guys we'd sent to prison were now getting out of prison and bolstering the numbers again.
It's that cycle, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of go to prison, and eventually they end up having to get out. So the guys are on parole, but they still hang out with the same guys.
Oh, yeah. They're not supposed to be flying colors. They're not supposed to be associating, but they all do. Yeah. They still do. So, yeah.
All right. So then DUI, is that the only like specialty unit that you've worked on?
No, I also, in 2010, I got on with our tactical response team, or SWAT team. We call it TRT, but it's our SWAT team.
It's got to be different, huh?
Got to be different, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that came about, but as long as I've been around it, I knew it as TRT, and so. Yeah. But yeah, and that
sounds like some kind of medicine or something,
right? Medicine for bad behavior.
Yeah. So then you got on the team, and you guys were a pretty active team back in the day.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I say back in the day, I say that because I'm retired. I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but I just remember. I always like talking to guys, asking them how busy they were, number of calls, and between us, Boise, and you, I think you guys were the most active team.
I think we
far as
probably
number
had
of call-outs.
the more call-outs, yeah. Yeah, I remember that's what we talked about that too a couple times. I mean, we worked pretty close with you guys as teams in trainings and whatnot, but I don't think we did a whole lot of overlap as far as calls. Or I know we've had a couple times we called in either Ada or we called in Boise to supplement our team or supplement us on a call and give us a reprise and a reprieve for a little bit. But I think most of the time we had a few more call-outs than you guys had throughout the year. So
yeah, back in the day when everybody was, when the meth hit the valley, everybody was, SWAT teams were busy because we were serving warrants on dopers and a lot of the meth addicts and meth labs and things like that.
And a lot of those automatically be depending upon a person's history and the presence of weapons, which was pretty common with a lot of meth and drug use, and they automatically rose to the level of the SWAT team getting called out. So
I remember wasn't a lot, but we had a few times where we had briefings jointly with Boise City, and we end up hitting between all of us, we'd be hitting 6 houses all at the same time, you know, or back to back, you know.
Yeah.
And those days were fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we had one where I think we hit 6 houses in one night, and I think you guys were hitting a couple, Boise was hitting a couple, Caldwell was hitting 1 or 2, and there was even a place in California we were coordinated with an agency down there to hit a couple places as well. It was a big event. We hit just boom, 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 house after house after house, and that was a lot of fun.
I remember that. We used to go through a lot of flashbangs back in the day too.
Yeah. We still go through them occasionally, but we've moved to a lot more explosive breaching. So that's been pretty cool to see our explosive breaching program
I know.
Going even more.
I think if you're going to have true hostage rescue capability, you got to have explosive breaching, right? I came from a short stint working for the Department of Energy out of INL, worked on the SRT team out there. You know, they had explosive breaching capability. Then I came here, and they didn't have that.
Right.
It took a few years, and there was, certain admin that was just I think they were just afraid of it because they didn't understand it, lack of knowledge. And eventually, now I think that's all they do every time they have a call. It seems like they use explosive breaching for just about everything, and it's so much safer.
It really is.
If you just, but people when they hear the word explosive, it scares people, right?
Yeah, it's the idea of the word. It's not necessarily what, and a lot of people don't want to listen to what it actually is and what's involved with it, right? And just kind of ignorance plays into a huge part of just the word explosive. Yeah, and it scares people.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have a SWAT team that's going to do hostage rescue, in the traditional sense, where you're kind of you've surrounded the place and you're trying to negotiate that kind of stuff. I think you just have to have explosive breaching capability. It's just too dangerous to not have it.
Absolutely. And it's been great with our current chief. He's fully on board, letting us push through it with a lot more of the explosive breaching program, and we've definitely been able to take it to the next level where we're doing a lot of explosive breaches. Every opportunity we get, we're using explosive breaches. Every once in a while, it just doesn't apply, and it's not the best move, but we try to do it as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, I know Ada County, they got a really good program, and I know they go back to Darcy for their training. Is that what you guys do that too?
We do it at Darcy. I don't know where all the explosive breachers go because I'm not one of them. I'm not involved in their program, but they've got a couple different places that they've went to. I don't know if they've been to Darcy for their explosive breaching training or not, but that's where we send guys all to get started for their basic SWAT school is going to Darcy. And then we have several guys who have been multiple times and upgrading their training and just kind of getting it better, and then they bring it back to us, and then that's a model we train under.
Good. So. Awesome. Sounds like you've done some pretty cool things over your career. Yeah. Looking back, right? You've got about 15 years in, right? Yeah.
No, I'm 21 now.
21.
Yeah.
So have you started that countdown yet?
Oh yeah, I've got 5 years. In about 16 days, it'll be exactly 5 years. So.
It's funny once guys get past that halfway mark, it's a countdown. It seems like for most guys.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of career left. I mean, 5 years. It seems like not that much, but then at the same time
goes
too,
so fast.
it also seems like a lot of years.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 4.5 years for me. Here,
Yeah.
a few more months, I'll be 5 years. So
Yeah,
it goes quick.
So I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time too, I still love my job, and I enjoy getting out there every day and doing what I enjoy doing, and doing it with a bunch of great guys. I think that's the thing that I love the most is it's the guys next to you, right? I enjoy being there every single day with the guys next to me, and that's kind of my main focus. Is I want to serve the public as best as I can, but I also want to serve my brothers as best as I possibly can, and just be there for them every chance I can.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this shooting that you were involved in back in 2008. You said.
Yeah, 2008.
So kind of lay the foundation for us. What was it? What were you doing that day? Were you just regular patrol?
Okay. Yeah, so that was just about 3 years into my career with Nampa. I was on patrol, but I was assigned to the DUI enforcement team at that time. I worked a night shift. I've worked nights most of my career. I love the night shift. It's busy. There's a lot going on. And that night was no different. There had been a whole lot of things going on that night. There had been a home invasion robbery where several people had gotten hurt. A bunch of money and stuff had been taken. We had a lot of officers who'd been called in on overtime, a lot of undercover guys, a lot of dope guys, a lot of detectives had been come in and were working that, as well as a lot of other stuff that was just going on. Like we mentioned before, Nampa and Caldwell were pretty busy back then.
Yeah.
And that night was no different. There was a lot happening. And being on the DUI team, however, I had a little more freedom. I didn't get tied down with a whole bunch of calls. I didn't get a lot of call load given to me. And so I was fairly free. I didn't have any extra reports that night because we had so much going on, and of that big home invasion, we'd gone to level 3, which means they don't want you doing a whole lot of proactive work. So then being the DUI guy, I didn't have a whole lot to do. I couldn't be making traffic stops. I couldn't be
They want
looking a whole lot.
They want you to be available for emergencies.
They want me to just
right?
be available for emergencies, yeah. So, and that night, a good buddy of mine now, at the time I knew very little about him. I knew at that point that his name was Mike, and he just passed our FTO program, maybe a week or two ahead of that. And
so he was really new.
He was real new, yeah. He'd been a military kid. He served in the Army Rangers. I think I misspoke. I don't think he was in the Rangers. He was in the Army. I've got a couple other buddies in the Rangers, but he'd probably kick me.
But he was special.
He was special. He was very special. Yeah. But as soon as he got out of the Army, he came to work for us, and he was with us just a few weeks out of the FTO program, and got assigned to our team. And that's when I met him a week or two before. But he was kind of busy, kind of not busy. He had a whole bunch of reports under his belt for the night, and so he was trying to work diligently on that. But he was available, and then I was available. And so him and I ended up getting sent to several calls together, just him and me, because we were about the only two guys that were available for the night. And we'd go to a call, he'd go back to the PD, work on his paperwork, and I'd just go back out cruising around, trying not to get into too much mischief. And so, and then a little after 2:00 in the morning that night, we got a disturbance call. And I was unfamiliar with the house. They gave out the location. I flipped a U-turn because I was up the north end of the city and started working down. It was kind of the northeastern area of the city, and started heading that direction. While I was en route, we had another officer who was familiar with that house. As soon as they gave the location, the name of the guy who was involved, he recognized him and told me, "Hey, just be on your guard. That guy's a Northside gang member, and he's trouble." He said, just a heads up, be aware. Okay. So, but other than that, that's about all I knew before I was heading over there. As I started coming in the area, the call stated that this guy was drunk and out of control, and he was smashing windows. The family had locked him out of the house. It was actually his girlfriend's mother's house, but he lived at the house with his girlfriend.
That's not a very good impression for your girlfriend's mother.
Right. You would think, right? I would think that I wouldn't want that boy coming back around. So, But he was busting out the windows, trying to get in the house, but he was so drunk and causing a problem, they had locked him out. And so as I get close to the area, I looked at my map, and I thought it was a few houses in, because back then it put a little flag on our GPS showing that where the house was. Well, it didn't give me the right house. It actually ended up being the first house on the corner as soon as I turned the corner onto that street. Mm-hmm. And as I came into the area and made that turn onto that street, this dude was standing right in the middle of the road, or excuse me, right in the middle of the yard. And so at that point, I had to react a lot quicker than I was expecting to. I was expecting to be a few houses away and having a little bit of time to walk up to the disturbance, but I drove right into the middle of it. So that was
And we were talking about your mapping system and technology.
Yeah.
I remember MDTs they didn't always work very good back in the day, especially.
They didn't. Yeah, and that we should be used to it and expect the unexpected, but sometimes we want to rely too much on them to be accurate, and it kind of bit me in the butt that night. So, but I ended up parking just across the road. He was in the yard. It's on the south end of the street, and I parked on the north side of the road.
And you said it was dark, right?
Or it was nighttime. It was nighttime.
So it was dark. Were you able to light him up with your spotlights, or?
So there was a street light on the corner, and so that did offer me some light. It offered me enough light that I didn't need a spotlight or anything, and I didn't feel like I had time. As soon as I turned around the corner and parked, he immediately turned his attention from the house to me. And so he turned towards me immediately and started walking towards me.
As he was walking, was it like a quick hurry, or was it like he was angry?
No,
could you tell his body language?
It was a fairly slow, deliberate walk, but it wasn't super fast. Mm-hmm. As soon as he turned around towards me, I could immediately see blood on his clothes, on his hands, on his arms. I wasn't sure what had just happened. When I saw all the blood, I didn't know if this guy had just cut somebody up or if he just battered somebody. I did see in his left hand, I saw a really large knife. I estimated about 12 to 18 inches is a big knife in his hand. And so that's one of the first things I put out over the radio.
Like a big, K-bar or Rambo type knife?
Something. It just looked, I remember seeing the glint for the light shining off of it and knowing that it was a big knife. And so that's one of the first things I put over the radio was, hey, Nampa 316, he has a knife. And so I think that stepped everybody up a little bit. I know it stepped my buddy Mike up because he was the other officer who was responding with me again. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I got out of my car, he started approaching me. He immediately started yelling, kill me, shoot me, over and over and over. He was lifting his arms up, kind of hitting his arms against his chest, just egging me on, trying to get me to shoot him. He said that, I can't even tell you how many times he told me to shoot him.
You had your gun out at this point?
I had my gun out, yeah. I drew my gun immediately and kind of brought it to the low ready and started yelling verbal commands to him, telling him to drop the knife, stop where he was at. Over and over, I said the same things. I don't even know how many times I said that as well. Seemed like forever.
What was the distance between you and him when you initially saw him to where he ended up?
When I initially saw him, I would guess we were probably 50, 60 feet. Mm-hmm. And he started closing that gap. He came out from the middle of the yard, walked in the roadway, and started walking towards me across the road. And he just kept, like I said, it wasn't a real fast movement, but it was just that slow, deliberate movement directly towards me over and over saying, come on, shoot me, just shoot me, kill me. I kept telling him, no, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to shoot you. I just want you to stop. I want you to put the knife down. Just said that over and over again. And it seemed like it took forever. It seemed like it took forever for this whole thing to play out.
Like time was going slow, huh?
Time was going real slow, yeah. I've been in a couple close call situations before, a few of them fairly similar to this, but this one was a lot slower. It seemed a lot more slowed down than some of the other ones I'd been involved in, at least now looking back on it anyway. So, but he just kept on coming, and then my buddy Mike showed up, and he came around the corner, and he stopped. and jumped out of the car as well. Right about the time that Mike was coming around the corner, this guy stopped where he was at in the middle of the road. And at this point, he'd gotten to I would say about 25 feet from me, 25, maybe 30 feet from
close.
me. He was getting pretty close at that point. And I'd kind of drawn an imaginary line in my head and thought, I can't let him get closer than that, because if he gets closer than that, that's going to put me in that much more danger. That's just going to close that distance way too close that I feel like he could actually get at me and hurt me if I let him, right?
I'm assuming you'd probably been through training. You'd probably been through the 21-foot drill,
back
right?
then the rule, it was absolutely 21-foot rule. That guy can get to you and stab you before you can draw your gun and get shots off, right?
And we've done that, like when I taught at the academy, other instructors will set up these drills where they actually have the students see how fast they can cover that 21 feet.
Yeah.
And it's usually like 1.5 seconds within 21 feet.
Yeah.
Some are getting 25 feet,
Right.
30 feet.
It's really fast.
Yeah.
It's a lot faster than you think. It really is a lot faster than you think, because I remember going through some drills like that too, and we did some drills like that of our own, and I remember going through a few of them at post, and 21 feet is not very far.
Yeah, not when somebody's charging at you. They cover that quick.
No, yeah. And so I remember after I drawn that line, that he stopped just on the other side of that imaginary line for me, and he stopped. He looked to his right at where Mike had jumped out of his car, and then he stopped saying anything. It was kind of surreal, because he'd been nonstop telling me to shoot him, and he looked at Mike, looked back at me, and that's when he came faster.
He charged at you
He
then.
immediately came at me, and it just came a very fast, deliberate. He took 3-4 steps and started covering ground, and I knew in my head, I was like, okay, that's the time. This is time. And at that point, I raised my gun up, and I fired 2 rounds, and then Mike also fired 2 rounds. And it's kind of crazy, because we talked about how time slows down, and I remember firing each of those rounds. It seemed to me like I fired them super slow. I remember seeing both rounds hit him, and I remember seeing him double over, like leaning forward, almost like he was going to fall on his face. And then I heard the slightest little pop, just very faint pop. And then this guy stood up straight as a board and fell straight over backwards against the ground.
Wow.
And
So he fell forward and then got back up?
Yeah, he right after my 2 shots, he leaned forward. He was still on his feet, but he kind of started doubling over forward, as if he was preparing to fall forward. And then right after I heard that pop, he went straight up like a board, and then fell straight back onto his back. And
where did you shoot him at?
so I shot 2 shots, hit him in the chest. My first shot hit high left chest. My second shot hit a little bit lower, but on the right side of his chest. And then at that point, I knew, okay, I know Mike shot, because I think that was that other pop. I was still confused in my head at the moment as far as what in the world just happened. Just seeing him double over like that and then come straight back up, it seemed weird to me, right? As soon as that happened, all hell broke loose at the house. I called out over the radio, hey, Nampa, shots fired. Suspect is down. And one of the things I remember too is as soon as I fired shots, I remember bringing my gun back down, and I remembered scanning to the right and then scanning to the left. And when I scanned to the left, that's actually the first moment I actually saw that it was Mike. I assumed it was Mike. I figured it was Mike. But that's the first time I actually saw that it was Mike.
Because you were so focused on the suspect,
I was so focused on the suspect, yeah. But I remember that was one of the things we used to train in our training, in our shooting training on the firing line, is after you take your shots, you bring your firearm down to assess for other threats, and then you scan to the right behind you, scan to the left, just making sure there's no other threats coming from other directions. And I did that without even thinking. I didn't even comprehend it, but I remember it vividly, looking across into that cul-de-sac that I had thought I was going to go into earlier. And then I scanned over, and then I saw I saw Mike, and at that point knew it was him. And after I got on the radio and said shots fired, then all hell broke loose at the house. The girlfriend's mom came rushing out of the house and came rushing down towards him, yelling at us, we wanted you to arrest him. We didn't want you to shoot him. And I started moving forward and telling her to get back because I didn't want her to come up and start grabbing him, destroying evidence, taking the knife away. And so I yelled at her to get back. And then I said, hey, I'm going to start medical stuff on him. So I stepped forward to the suspect and in preparation to start some medical assessment and try to deliver some sort of medical help to him. But when I got up to him, two things hit me hard. One, I saw brain matter all over. So I knew at that point, okay, there's no need to do new medical stuff. I could see brain stuff. One of the shots had hit him right in the side of the head. And I didn't see any indication at that point. I did check for a pulse, did not get a pulse. The other thing that hit me hard was that when I looked in his left hand, he did not have a knife in his hand. What he had was a big piece of glass. And I remember at that moment thinking, oh crap, I screwed up. Just my mind played tricks on me, right? I mean,
that's common.
Yeah, I at the time I remember thinking, oh crap, I screwed up. I said he had a knife. He didn't have a knife. He had a piece of glass. Now, hindsight later on, and of course it came to me too. I realized, geez, that was a huge piece of glass. He could have easily stabbed me with that too. And ultimately, it's believed that that's probably just one of the chunks of glass that he busted out of the window that he had in his hand.
Yeah.
And so, but it played havoc on my brain for a little while.
Yeah,
so.
It makes your stress level go up even more.
Yeah, stress levels going up even more.
Because you feel that initially you feel like you did the right thing, and then you start to question
start questioning what I did. Yeah, it's and then after that it seemed like moments before everybody showed up. Everybody showed up. I mean, we had the mom coming out of the house. We had her boyfriend coming out of the house. We had a bunch of teenagers coming out of the house, and several of them were dressed in red as well. And so, which is Northside gang member colors, right? And so my thought was, oh crap. And then they saw what happened and they went jetting back inside the house. And so now I'm nervous thinking too, what are these guys going in the house? Are they also gang members? Are they running in the house? Are they going to grab weapons? Are we going to have some more stuff happening here? And so I started getting all the information, relaying that to dispatch, relaying that to other officers coming in to the area. And other officers showed up super fast. I was amazed at how fast they got there. And they took over the house. They kind of left me and Mike hanging there watching with the suspect, but they had work to do at the house. And so that was the first time that I kind of went into a little bit of oh crap, I don't know what to do now. Well, I don't really know exactly what my next step is.
Things kind of slowed down then.
Things slowed down then. I was still standing there with my gun just out and in the low ready, just watching the guy that we just shot and knew that was obviously deceased on the ground. And that's when things slowed down and I wasn't exactly sure what to do. And thankfully we had an officer show up, a detective actually showed up and said, hey, you guys doing okay? I said, yeah, we're doing okay. And he said, okay, put your gun away. So I put my gun away, and then a sergeant walked up, asked me to give a brief explanation.
Safety brief?
Yeah, a little safety brief. You know, every time officers get in a shooting, they want to know at least the basics of what happened. I started telling him, and then he asked me, hey, do you have a camera? Well, yeah, I got a camera. It's a personal camera that I use for work, but yeah, I got a camera. He goes, hey, here's the deal. I want you to take as many photos of that guy as you can because medics are going to get here and they're going to scoop it up. And I wasn't sure what to do with that. I'm thinking, I don't know if I should be the guy doing that, but okay. And so then I'm sitting here. I got my camera out of my patrol car, and it was something to do, but I got my camera out of the patrol car, and I started snapping photos of the dead guy. And I remember in my head taking a lot of photos of that big piece of glass.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that was what was mentally screwing me up at the time. And so I took a lot of photos of that and took a bunch of photos of where he was at and in relation to where things were at. And then another sergeant showed up and he says, what are you doing? That guy told me to take photos. He goes, give me that camera. You can't be taking photos of him. So he took my camera, and then they made the decision at that point, okay, we need to get these guys separated out. We need to get them in patrol cars. We need to get them away from the scene and stop having them just sitting here. And so at that point, they pulled us away and sat us in separate patrol cars.
I'm sure things would be different today because the whole valley has had a lot of experience with officer involved shootings in the last several years.
Yeah, that was only like the second least fatal one for ours, in like 19 years. Mm-hmm. It had been a long time, and so
now it seems like every other day I turn on the news. There's an officer involved shooting in the valley.
Yeah. No agency is exempt from it. It's all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
What kind of handgun were you using?
That time I had a Glock 21, 45 cal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a weapon light on it?
Nope, didn't have a weapon light.
And back then, they didn't have red dots.
No.
Right?
No, didn't have red dots. So just iron sights only.
So did you feel like leading up to that point, you had a decent amount of training? Do you feel like it was good training during back in those days?
And
obviously we always say it's never enough, right?
In hindsight, we didn't have near enough training. In hindsight, back then it was your basic quals a few times a year. We didn't do a whole lot of extra training beyond that. We'd do a little bit of shooting and do a couple drills, but then jump right into the qual. So everything we had beyond that was what you went out and did on your own, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't on the SWAT team at that point, so I didn't get a whole lot of extra training, which being on the SWAT team has been a huge change. We get a lot of shooting time, and but at the time I didn't have a whole lot more. I wouldn't shoot. I shot on my own, but again, I'm just out shooting cold on paper targets, and I didn't do a whole lot of. I've never done competition stuff, or I'd never done a lot of advanced training at that time. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it was near efficient enough for what we were about to experience on the road. Since then, we've gotten much better training, and training has continually progressed. And I think we're a pretty proactive department when it comes to training. We do a lot of training, and so I think we're much better prepared nowadays than we were back then. So
yeah, I think that's the same for all the agencies in the valley. Yeah, training's really come a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're blessed. Just being in this area too, I think we have the opportunity for a lot more training, and you hear horror stories about some of the big cities, and they have thousands and thousands of officers, and there's just no way that they can put those guys through the more advanced training and continue.
Well, they can,
training, right?
If
they can
figure it out.
Just, yeah, make it a priority.
Yeah,
it's going to cost some more money, but make it a priority and get these guys on a rotation.
Yeah, I'm surprised. The last several years when we've had all these laterals come over from the big cities, how many of them are not the greatest shooters?
Right. Yeah.
I talked to one guy. He's like, "Yeah, I worked for Ada County." He goes, "For a year and a half." He goes, "I was with LAPD for 11 years." He goes, "I've done 3 times more firearms training in 1.5 years than I did with 11 years with LAPD."
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Being a small town cop here in Idaho my whole career, every time you turn on the news, if there's a major incident, it's in those cities. So you just assume, oh man, they get all this training and everything.
Yeah.
And they do get a lot of experience because call volume is a lot higher.
Right.
But as far as individual skill training, it doesn't sound, at least from the guys that I've talked to, it doesn't sound like they get a whole lot, and it doesn't show very well either when they first start. So
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's just on the job training.
Yeah.
It's not classroom stuff, it's not out on the range, it's not learning from people who have been doing this for a long time. It's just literally on the job training. Unless you got a couple of good veterans on your team who are showing you the ropes and showing you how it's done. So
So going back to the shooting, they talk about when you're in a stressful event like a critical incident like this, they talk about things slow down. Were things slow for you during the shooting? I know you said leading up to it, things kind of felt like they were kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
And is it led up to the shooting, like pulling the trigger?
Yeah.
Watching. You said that you saw
the
guy actually take the rounds. Was that all in slow motion?
Yeah, it absolutely was. It everything about that seemed like it was slow motion. Even replaying in my head today, it was very slow. Like I said, it seemed like it took me forever to fire both those rounds and for everything to happen. And it wasn't until after that, then all of a sudden everything kind of picked up back up.
And you didn't have body cams back then, did you?
We didn't have body cams, no. I actually had a dash cam in the patrol car that I had for the DUIs, but because I hadn't turned my lights on, it wasn't activated. We could turn our lights on, or we could turn it on manually, but because I had pulled up not expecting that and immediately encountering the dude, it completely slipped my mind to even activate that camera. We had audio recorders, same thing. I think because I pulled around that corner and was not expecting him right there. Back then,
did they try to jam you up on that?
Not really.
Question you about it?
They questioned me about it, and they talked to me about why I didn't have it on, and I gave them the answer. I just honestly, it surprised me. It happened too quick, and that's the last thing that was on my mind. As soon as I saw him covered in blood and with that knife, I didn't even think about it. I just went to I have work to do, and that's the most important thing right now. So
the other thing you hear about is auditory exclusion, and you kind of covered that. You said you just heard a faint pops from the other officer shooting.
Yeah.
How about your gunshots? Did you
I don't
hear
even
them?
remember hearing them.
No.
I don't remember hearing them at all. Yeah. And I thought he only fired one shot. Because I didn't hear his first shot.
Okay.
And back to what I believe happened with the body. When I first hit my shots, I think what happened is I fired those two shots. Mike fired another shot within there somewhere, but when I heard that faint pop, it's the only pop of his that I heard. Mm-hmm. So I think his second shot is what hit the guy, and I think that's the shot based upon the trajectory and the positioning. It was kind of to the side and the back of his head, and that's where Mike was at. So I'm guessing his round hit him in the head, and that round to the head, I think, is what caused his body to go stiff and stand straight back up and fall backwards. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that second round that Mike fired is the one that hit him in the head.
Yeah.
So
did you get that dry mouth, and like when you start talking on the radio, did you get that dry mouth from just the stress? And
not that I remember specifically, but probably. Mm-hmm. I mean, even retelling it sometimes it happens, you know.
At what point, or did you get the shakes? You get that adrenaline dump, and kind of it starts to kind of, the further away you get from the shooting, all of a sudden that adrenaline dump, you start getting the shakes. Were you feeling the shakes when you were taking pictures? And
so not when I was taking pictures. I think part of it was just they were giving me work to do, and so I was like, okay, so I gotta keep my composure together while I'm doing this. When they took that away from me and they said, hey, we need to pull these guys over and put them in a patrol car, they sat me in a patrol car. There was actually an ISB trooper who'd showed up. He was always running around Nampa, and he liked to hang out with and do cool stuff that troopers didn't always get to do. And he had showed up too. He was actually at our police department when the call came out, and so they stuck me in his car first. Yeah. And when I was sitting in that car, I kind of got the shakes. I got that dump, and sweats, and there was a lot of things was going on in my head, and I. Super nervous. I was still playing mental games with myself about the fact that it was a piece of glass and not an actual knife. And that went on for a few minutes until they came and said, all right, hey, we're going to move you again. And so then they took me and put me in a different patrol car. And
did they take you and interview you that night, or did you get a couple days to?
Yeah, so that night they ended up, the detective who showed up on scene initially grabbed both Mike and me. He took us to a hotel, and I remember he went inside to check in and get a couple rooms for the hotel, and I remember Mike saying, "Hey, bro, are we gonna be all right?" And of course, me as a 3-year guy, I'm the veteran here for this new FTO guy, and I said, yeah, man, we're good. We're going to be good. We're going to be all right. I was trying to be encouraging to him, and inside my head, I'm thinking, oh, geez, this sucks. I don't know what's about to happen.
So he was stressing out too.
He was stressing out too, yeah. And that's the only comment we even made to each other. And then they grabbed us, took us to 2 separate hotel rooms, and I had a couple good friends show up at that time. One person that showed up was Tana. She was just a patrol officer with us at the time, but she's now a corporal, and she's been my corporal. We've worked a lot of years together. just less than a year prior to that, she had been involved in a fatal officer-involved shooting. And
that was over near Star, wasn't it? Was it?
No, hers was over off of Middleton Road. It was a guy who'd killed a bail bondsman. He had a bail bondsman had got out of jail, got this guy out of jail, and then the guy couldn't pay the bond, so he was taking him back to jail. And this guy got his gun from him and killed him out in the Boise foothills, and then was running around our town. And we had a big manhunt for him that night, and Ton was involved in that shooting.
Yeah, I think I was working that night.
Yeah. And her going through that, and obviously that's a story that she could tell.
Yeah.
But the things that she went through was extremely helpful for me. Just her being there for me, supporting me.
Walk you through stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, because she had been through a lot, and she had read a bunch of books, and she'd done a lot of studying on what was normal and what was going to happen to you in these things, and plus she'd experienced it too. And so she came and she walked me through and talked me through a lot of the things that I was going to experience, and just let me know, hey, it's normal. Okay, don't freak out about this stuff. It's normal. You're going to have all sorts of it. You're going to have anger issues. You're going to have. You might cry about this. You might lose sleep over this. You know, you're probably not, or you may go straight to sleep. Who knows? There's all these things that are going to happen. Don't drink a bunch of alcohol after this. It's a depressant. It's going to make things worse. Don't watch the news, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And having her there just kind of helped me through that was pretty huge, because that way I had a little bit of background as far as like, okay, at least I know what to expect. And at least when I expect it, I know that it's going to be normal.
Yeah, and I like when they say, "Hey, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen," because everybody's different, right? It depends on your background, depends on what you had going on in your personal life at that time before you came to work.
Yeah.
Do you have a big fight? Are you going through divorce? Or do you have a really religious background? Not religious? Just all these different things will affect you on how you deal with it, and doesn't mean good or bad. It's just what it is. What it is. Your body's just going to react however it does.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's a normal thing.
Yeah. But and then even at the hotel, right, it was still quite a process. A lot of stuff I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to have them. Well, I guess I should fast forward a little bit, or excuse me, back up a little bit. I remember the sergeant who. Or the detective who came and got us, he was also a sergeant when he left, but you might know him, Blake Slater. I love that guy. He told me, he said, hey, listen, you need to call your wife, okay? And you need to call your wife. And this is why. Two important reasons. First and foremost, if someone else calls her, she's then going to have a traumatic experience. That's going to be traumatic for her to get a call from somebody at the PD, even if it's for a moment. That's going to be a scary thing. I
agree with that.
And so you need to call your wife. And then he said, another thing to remember is you can tell your wife pretty much whatever you want. She can't be forced to testify against you. If you confide in her about stuff, she can't be forced to testify against you.
She's mad at you, though.
And if she's mad at you, she might want to testify against you. That's a different thing. So keep her on your good side. But so he said, one of the things we need to do here in the next little bit, you need to call your wife. And then he told me, hey, you need to tell her, hey, just, I've been involved in something. This is kind of what it is. I need you to gather up some clothes, and I need you to bring them here to the hotel. And so, and then that's when I figured, well, why does she need to bring me clothes? I've got clothes back in PD. And that's when he told me, they're going to take everything, dude. Yeah. They're going to take it all. So thankfully, she got there before they decided to go through that whole process.
And when you say they're going to take it all, he's talking about investigators who come
Investigative stuff,
right?
Yeah. All the investigators come in, the CITF,
Critical Incident Task Force.
Yeah, they're going to come in. They're going to take all your clothes for for evidence. They're going to take your weapon. They're going to count your rounds, do all the things that they do. And draw your blood. Got to take a pee test just to make sure you weren't a little liquored up while this whole thing occurred. So
I do have a question for you. Did you remember seeing your sights?
I do remember seeing my sights actually. Back then, obviously the big thing was front sight trigger press, right? Yeah. Front sight trigger press, and I remember seeing that front sight. I remember seeing that front sight a lot more than I saw my target, saw the bad guy, right? But then again, I think like I said, I watched those rounds hit though too. And so it's weird because I remember focusing on that front sight and making sure that it was on my target and cranking that round off. But then I also watched that round hit him. And then I fired that second shot. Same thing. I was on that front sight, and then I remember watching that second round hit him.
So your eyes were focusing back and forth from the front sight to the target.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
it was kind of weird because obviously even some things I've learned now, a lot of times you only see one or the other. But I do remember distinctly focusing on that front sight because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss. Right, this guy's coming at me. Every single round counts, and of course we're taught that too in all of our training. Every single round is accounted for, right? And
there's an attorney behind every bullet. That's what they say, right?
Is, yeah. And it's weird to think of all those things going through my head at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it seemed like it was an eternity. And it ultimately ended up being around 17, 18 seconds from the time I said he has a knife to the time I said shots fired. And so somewhere within that 17, 18 seconds is from him walking all the way across the yard into the street, stopping, and then coming at me, right? But yet it seemed like forever. So, but...
Well, it sounds like a pretty crazy incident.
Yeah. So, and they took my interview that night too.
They did.
Which I wasn't ready for that one.
Now, I don't think they do that. I think they pretty much standardized it where I think they give you 24 or 48 hours, I think.
Yeah. They want you to have at least 2 sleep cycles. So.
Yeah, like I say, that's what I was saying. Our agencies in this valley have had a lot of practice. Those CITF guys, they've had a lot of practice because there's a lot of officer ball shootings in this valley. Surprisingly, tell people in Ada County, crime is really not that high. I mean, in Idaho, they say Idaho's has the lowest crime rate in the United States.
Right.
But I think officer ball shootings, we have a lot.
We have a fair amount of them. Yeah.
We have a lot more than a lot of states that have really high crime.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I would say that goes into play with some things, though, right? I mean, I think a lot of times people know and understand that we're not messing around. We're going to do a good job, and we work hard, and we want to make sure that our streets are safe. And I think the word gets out. I know I remember that one guy talked to me about how after this all happened, he was part of the gang team, and he had conversations with other gang members, and they said, hey, what's the temperature right now? What's happening with the gangs? Are they pissed off? Or is there going to be retaliation? What's going to happen? And he talked to a couple guys who were like, nah, man, we're not going to mess with you guys. They said, we've messed with you guys too much, and we always lose. And we know that he screwed up. He was stupid. And so I'm sure not everyone carries that sentiment, obviously, but a couple of the kind of the OGs at the time, that's the sentiment that was given.
So how was your mental status, afterwards for the next few weeks or whatever? Did you sleep well? Did you have any issues that way?
I crashed. I think I went home later that day. I think after I gave the interview and after I went over and I had to go see my mom because my mom was going to be freaking out otherwise. So I had to go give her a hug and see her, and saw her and my dad. And then I went home later that afternoon. I think we got home around noon, and at 1 o'clock I crashed, and I think I slept for 12 hours. Problem is I woke up early in the morning, but it was nighttime. That's what I did. I was up. I was a night owl, so I just made myself busy, and then I slept real good the next night too. But I had lots of flashbacks. I remember replaying this thing over and over and over in my head for weeks.
But I always tell people there's also a difference between having those flashbacks from a post-traumatic stress, or from the tactical side, you're going, okay, did I make the right decision? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? Yeah. Not necessarily that it's a post-traumatic stress thing, but just from, hey, did I do the right thing tactically? Yeah. Which one was yours? You remember?
I don't remember for certain. I think there's a little bit of a combination of both. Because there's definitely things I remember thinking, did I do this right? Did I do that right? Did did I give him enough time? Did I say the right things? And then I'm like, yeah, I said the right things. I said everything I'm supposed to, right? And so I think it was my body trying to second guess, but at the same time too, I think I did what I was trained to do. I wouldn't change any of it. I feel like I made the right decision. And then I think part of it was just like it was a traumatic thing, and so I think my brain was replaying it as well. So I never really second guessed my decision. I think it was a decision that had to be made. Unfortunately, it's not a decision I wanted to make, but he made that decision for me, right? It was a decision I knew I had to make based on what he did.
Yeah.
And
he got shot based on his decisions,
he got
not
shot
yours.
based on his decisions. Yeah. I mean, I gave him every chance in the world to do exactly what I told him to. I think I gave him a lot more chances than I should have had to, right?
Yeah.
I like I said before, I can't tell him how many times I told him to stop and to drop the knife, but his decisions caused him to get shot that day.
Yep.
And I don't question that at all. It's not something I wanted to go through. It's not something I ever got in this job, and I've been in other critical incidents as well. But this was the first one I was involved in, and it I don't know. It just I guess it stands out a little bit more than some of the others, right? I think I was better trained later on when we had some of the others, and I think that that one was a little bit more of the shock and a little bit more of the trauma that I felt from that one.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of years before I dealt with it too. I think I dealt with it pretty good because I was open to talking with people about it, and I think there's some healing that came.
And
that.
how was your wife with it? Did she deal with it okay?
She actually did deal with it pretty good. It took some time and learning to communicate about it. I did the typical cop thing and wanted to protect her a little bit from it for a while. And so I didn't tell her all the details, but then over time I opened up with her
A little at a time,
bit
probably.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, in my opinion, the guys who don't have that relationship with their spouse or a girlfriend or, some family member, if they're not talking about it, they're the ones that usually, in my opinion, have the issues, the reoccurring nightmares and that kind of stuff. But if you have like that safe person you can talk to and say, hey, this is what happened, I think it makes things a lot easier. Versus I've also, and your spouse needs to be calm too. If you get home and you're telling them about it and they're freaking out, crying and screaming, it's like, that just makes it worse on you.
Makes it worse, yeah.
I've heard of spouses doing that, and I'm just like, man, you're not doing him any favors.
Yeah. And my wife
making it worse.
Was completely supportive of me. She's an absolute gem. I mean, throughout all of my career, all the things that I've been through, all the things that I've done, she's been right there supporting me 100% through it. So it's been, I couldn't have asked for somebody else better to have my back.
Yeah, well, good.
Yeah,
that was a good story, man. That was quite the incident, and I think some of the stuff you talked about, there's a lot of good learning points there for the guys who are going to be listening.
Yeah,
and
I hope so. I mean, and I think that's the biggest thing is if we can be involved in a lot of things, but if we don't learn something, if we don't learn how to do things better, if we don't learn what worked real well, what didn't work, and we don't move on and change those things or just implement them in a better way, then we're not doing ourselves any good service. So, but yeah, I think a lot of, like I said, this is like the second one in a lot of years for us. And then since then, there's been a whole lot more of them. Yeah. And and I think we're doing a good job, especially learning what we can do better in each and every time. Yeah. There's always ways to improve, and there's always things to do better. And for the most part, I think we do a really good job of that.
I think so. I said, I still go out and train with different guys, being I'm a contract instructor, law enforcement instructor in the Valley, and it helps to kind of keep up with what's going on, latest trends and that kind of thing. And, I'm constantly looking at training and seeing what's going on in other parts of the country so that when I am teaching, I can impart some of the things I'm seeing out there. And then the guys are telling me what's going on the street. Yeah. So and that really helps, I think, both ways. So,
well, especially I think, obviously I don't know yet, I'm looking forward to it, but once you're retired, there's parts of us that probably want to slow down and get change life a little bit, but at the same time too, we want to stay connected.
Yeah.
Because we're enveloped so much in this world, and so many of our buddies that we hang out with are.
Well, I'm
are
too
in
young.
this
I'm
world,
too young
too.
to be completely retired.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I don't really know how to do anything else, so I just continue
yeah.
to contract teach,
Yeah.
firearms and things like that. So
Yeah. Well, it's a great gig, and there's always a need for it. So, yeah, and you're good at what you do, so you might as well use that. Right?
yeah, trying. And then we got the last year I hosted the law enforcement conference. I don't know if you heard about that.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
But we're going to have it again in May. May 12th, 13th, 14th. Last year it was only 2 days. This year is going to be 3 days.
Cool.
And we got new instructors coming out. We got some of the old instructors, not old, but the same instructors from last year. But I'm bringing in 2 other instructors. So we got Bill Rep here. He's a former Dev Group guy, SEAL team guy. He'll be teaching a combatives class. Got Keith Garcia, who's coming from California, who's a SWAT guy over there, and he's like a multiple world champion.
Cool.
3-gun shooter.
Yeah.
And then we got Yong Lee, who taught last year. He's teaching a pistol class.
Okay.
Benny Cooley, he's also a multi-time national champion. So him, Yong Lee, these guys are all grandmaster shooters. Oh, and then we got a breaching class.
Cool.
Corey Feldman from the county is going to be teaching, and he teaches an excellent breaching class. Cool. And we're gearing that towards active shooter, like patrol response. So a lot of people, they think breaching, I got to be a SWAT guy, but this is not about SWAT guys. It's about you're a patrol guy learning how to breach doors with shotguns and tools, because that guys are starting to lock doors now at these active shooter incidents. So we've got to be able to get in, and that's I think where we fail a lot, or law enforcement fails a lot, is we're constantly in like alert and active shooter training. We're teaching how to do hallway movements. We're teaching how to room clear inside the room, but we're not teaching them how to breach a door. Right. We talk about it briefly, but they're not actually breaching doors. And so Corey's going to actually show guys how to breach doors. He's going to let them shoot, locks or doors with shotguns. They're going to use tools to pry open doors and things like that. So
that'll be cool. Yeah.
So a lot of rifle shooting, pistol shooting, and breaching doors. So if you guys want to sign up for these classes, hopefully we'll fill it up again.
Yeah.
So
it'd be fun.
All right, Josh, I think we're about out of time, and I appreciate you coming out and telling your story. I thought it was very, very enlightening, and
I appreciate you having me.
That's kind of a big word for me, enlightening. Anyway, good having you. We'll have to get together again, and hopefully we'll see you out at some training.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, bud.